discuss how Likkle ideas are transformed into big dreams. On the toolkit, and you will access a lot of resources. A lot of the information that we presented here today, there are a lot of activity sheets. So we encourage you to download some of that information. Also, there's a digital swag bag with Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Likkle Byte Ideas. It's been a minute. I think last we were on, it was probably about 4 weeks ago. We've been busy. I'm sure you've had a lot going on as well, but we could not let the month of May wind down without stopping in. We have so much to celebrate today that we know you're going to enjoy this episode. We have some amazing guests with us, and we have one guest who is en route, who's actually traveling, and he's actually in transit. We'll keep everything a little secret before he gets here. But let me get my co-host in so we can get this discussion going. Hey, Megan, how you doing?
Hey, Dorit. I am fine. How are you?
Good. I love your backdrop. I wish I had time to get mine up. But,
it's
today...
It's Anguilla Day.
Yes.
I need to move so people can see it.
Yeah. And if you have not been to Anguilla, you're missing half of your life. What a beautiful island.
Wow. Yes, it is. Beautiful.
I will admit, my first trip, I was an adult. I heard everything about it. We always had Anguilla people from Anguilla en route from England to our house.
Well, we need to let them know our connection.
Yes, we will get into that.
Okay.
And if you've been following our pages, it's been all about, we've been missing because we had a huge birthday celebration.
Oh, a big one.
And so that totally, when your mother lives to be 90 years old, it's such a blessing and such a gift that you literally drop everything else that's going on to make sure that she has the most fantastic celebration. So we've invited our mom. If we're talking Anguilla, she has to be on the show. She was actually born in Anguilla. She left when she was 3.5 years old. Of course, you know that she recently published her first book. And the first scene starts out with her sailing from Anguilla to Antigua. So we're going to talk a bit about the book today. We're also going to talk about Anguilla, the island. They celebrate Anguilla Day tomorrow, May 30th. It's a very historic day. They're very determined people, and they have a strong sense of entrepreneurship, which is what we really want to talk about today. The whole culture of the island, their survival, what makes them so strong. They've gone from, an island that literally their main industry was salt. Women working hard and picking through the salt for export to now having some of the most luxurious resorts throughout the world. And I believe for 3 or 4 years in a row, they were voted best Caribbean island back to back to back. So I claim that as part of my Anguilla heritage. And I have to say, it's one of the most beautiful islands I've been to. It really gives you a sense of peace. So let's get our mom in here, Miriam Samuel. If you've been following our pages, you've seen her book. We had a book launch. You have to get this book. Megan and I had a hand in it. We were co-authors with her.
Yeah.
And
our brothers and a cousin.
Our brothers and a cousin as well.
And my niece. My nieces.
Yes. One niece, or should I say my daughters. One was an author and one was the creator of the cover. One is an artist. Mommy, I hope you have a copy of the book nearby. Do you? Sounds like she can't hear us.
Well, let's just welcome you.
Let's just welcome you. Tiffany will get the book.
Nice to have you with us,
yes.
Mommy. You don't look
Say
a day
hello to
over
our audience.
60.
You're live.
Oh, thank you, guys. Nice to be with you. I'm still on cloud
Still on
nine,
still on cloud nine.
Yeah, her internet is a bit choppy.
Yeah.
and I'm still on cloud nine.
Okay.
I thought it was called
Absolutely.
90.
So I
All
have to tell
righty.
Cloud
you,
90. I'm cloud nine. I'm not
yeah,
90. I'm 9.
no, the cloud. Yeah, we know. Okay, I hear you. She's not 90. She does the reverse thing.
Okay, well, welcome. We're talking Anguilla Day today. We are awaiting our guest. We should be joined by Mr. Timothy Hodge, our Dr. Timothy Hodge. He's a genealogist from Anguilla and also a poet, and he's worked for a lot of years with the Social Security scheme in Anguilla. I have some questions for him because I want to know, what percentage of Anguillans he should know the records and can give us a sense as to what percentage of Anguillans.
So I'm going to tell you now. He's going to correct you. It's Anguillians.
Anguillian, that's how they pronounce it?
Yes, Anguillians.
Oh,
Yes.
wow. I
He
stand
corrected
corrected.
me a few times.
Oh,
But
wow.
Tim has been my friend for over 30 years. We both went to the University of the Virgin Islands. So we met long time.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
just
a
say
long
over 30
time.
years ago. And
Mhm.
we reconnected again as we were doing our doctorate. He's finished. So it was just a pleasure. And he says to me that he doesn't recall that I told him I have Anguillan roots. Of course, anybody I met from Anguilla, that was the first thing I told them.
Right.
So I'm just going to say he didn't remember. But he is such a repository of so much information on Anguilla that I know when he joins, it's going to be so much fun. But he's traveling. He's actually on the ferry now, going back to Anguilla. So he'll join us late, but it should be worth the wait.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, let's get the discussion going. Why don't we start by talking a bit about the research that I've done?
Okay.
Of course, a part of the celebration today, if you've studied history, Caribbean history, in 1967, and I can't remember the date, as you know, Anguilla was part of a trinity of islands. It was St. Kitts, Nevis, and Anguilla. And of course, the Anguillians always felt alienated, the stepchild of the Trinity. In doing my research, I don't think it ever really worked. It sounded like it was more from a geographical grouping or convenience for the British Crown by, listen, instead of having all of these different administrations and standalone small islands that we're responsible for, how can we group more of them together and maybe just achieve economies of scale? Instead of having 3 governors and 3 representatives, they're close enough or have enough in common. I mean, St. Kitts and Nevis, as you know, from point to point, they're 12 miles apart from port to port, but from point to point, the closest point or the shortest point between St. Kitts and Nevis is 2 miles. And I believe for Anguilla is a bit north of them. So a little ways out of that vicinity. I mean, Anguilla has a lot more in common with St. Martin and is a lot closer to St. Martin. So I can see, even from a geographical standpoint, how the Anguillians didn't even feel geographically a part of this. And certainly it sounded like things never really gelled between the people, the local government. They were actually a colony for several years, from 1898 to 1967, went through several changes. But from my research, it was always a very acrimonious relationship.
Yeah.
So, Megan, what have you found in your research?
Yeah, so I very similar. What I also found was that there was this big constitutional conference that took place in 1966, And that was when they were trying to, this is St. Kitts, Nevis, and Anguilla, trying to see how they could form a particular statehood, but Anguilla was not for it.
Yes.
And so that was the start of what then became the I don't know if they actually called it the revolution. Yes, the Anguilla Revolution.
Yes, that's what it was called.
Which eventually happened. I think it was in
67.
67?
Yeah, 67. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So quite interesting, and it's when I was doing the research, I really felt proud because it showed a people who, despite, because I mean, back in those days, things were tough all around. And despite the opposition they were getting from the powers within St. Kitts, they stood their ground and fought and ensured that they were able to stand alone. And my research also showed me that that's when the standard of living started to improve, when they did it on their own. So
for themselves.
Kudos to Mr. Webster and all the other persons back then who stood up for what they believed in.
Yeah, I'm wondering, that Webster was Ronald Webster.
Ronald Webster.
The premier now is Ellis Webster. I was doing my research. I'm sure they're related, but I'm not sure if it's his son or just a relative.
We'll find out. We'll find out.
That's what I thought.
Because Dr. Tim is a nephew of Ronald Webster.
Oh, Mr. Webster.
Yes.
Oh,
his
my
mother
goodness.
and Ronald Webster, they're siblings.
His what? His mother?
His mother.
Oh,
and
wonderful.
Ronald Webster. So he will have a lot to speak about when he joins us, and I hope that's soon.
Yes, and Ronald Webster also lived to be a ripe old age. I think he lived to be in his 90s. Yeah. He only died in 2016.
Yeah, they seem to have some long livers because his mom, I think, turned 90 just this year, this year.
His mother?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's going to be interesting. So, Mommy.
Yeah, so tell us what kinds of stories did you hear from your mother in terms of the work ethic in Anguilla? I know in the book and in talking to you, our grandmother, who was born and raised in Anguilla, she was revered as somebody who was known for working hard. Somebody who also was very diligent and very, I remember Mommy telling me stories that everybody wanted her on their cotton picking team because she was so good at what she did. She took pride in her work, and when she cleaned the cotton and she handed it in, she was really valued as a good worker and someone who, had a lot of value because of her work ethic. And of course, the impression that I got as well from both of our grandparents when they came to Antigua, they didn't get stuck on one plantation. They moved around and sought out opportunities. So, Mommy, tell us, in growing up with a mother who came from this strong culture of survival, sustainability, and hard work, what are some of the stories that you heard from your mother in terms of her work ethic, perhaps becoming an entrepreneur, having her little side hustle, and how might that have influenced you as well? Can she hear us?
Well,
okay.
My mother had to work hard. Yes, she used to work hard. When she came to Antigua, she had no relatives that she knew of. All she had was and 3 little children. And when we came to Antigua, I didn't know we were in Antigua. She went to Palma to pick cotton. And somebody asked me, Mirie, I didn't realize I was in Antigua. So I figured she went to Antigua. and work. Don't borrow. Use what you have. And I live by those precepts.
Okay, good.
I don't know
So-
much about Anguilla. I never went back there until I was a big woman, 1960. And everybody seemed to know me. I took up.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that is? Why would they know you?
From St. Kitts. So I took up my suitcase after I came off the boat. Then knew I was coming. And this guy took my suitcase on his.
Yeah, her reception is not
So
great.
I had a wonderful time in Anguilla in 1960. And then I went back in 1985. Then I went back with 3 grandchildren in 2008. One of my sisters was there. And we had a great reunion about 5 years ago. And I'm planning to make another trip in the next month or so I can have a greater reunion with those who are around.
I did not know that.
And
so you're coming back in a
also,
month?
I have housed. Pardon me?
I didn't realize you're planning on
I
going
am
back.
planning to go. Of course.
Okay. Nice. Great.
At least
So
the end of June. And I have many friends from Anguilla who have come, stayed in our house. You children know about it.
Oh, yes. Well,
They're
we
coming from
started out.
England.
That's how we started out, speaking about. Yeah, we remember vividly the number of persons, and we wouldn't get much notice.
They're
We
coming
just would
from England.
hear. Yep.
And in those days, they had left. So they just bunk off with us. Next morning, we take them to the airport.
Yep.
And that was. We had to put up Anguillians. Plus other people in our house.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, thanks for that, Mommy. We have Timothy Hodge, who has joined us, Dr. Timothy Hodge. I know
fantastic.
he is not stationary, still moving, but I'm going to see if he can at least join us for a little bit. Dr. Timothy Hodge.
Okay. Hello?
Is now a good time, or do you need some more time?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I am right now in customs, so it's very noisy. So
All
just
right.
give me a
Okay.
minutes till I get out. Thanks.
Not a problem. Okay, great. Okay, so at least he's nearly there. So we'll continue the conversation.
Yep. All righty. So we have a bunch of things we can talk about because we sent him a bunch of questions. Let's see how we can get this going. Mommy, what do you know about harvesting salt and the salt pond? Is that something you have ever visited? Have you ever had that experience? What do you know about harvesting salt? Is that something your mother had experience with?
I don't know much about it, but I have visited the salt pond. I have been to the salt pond.
Okay.
It's on the ground. I think it's on the ground.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been as well.
And I know
I've been, but I
plant a
didn't. I
lot
didn't
of
go to the salt
corn
pond.
and peas.
Corn and peas is what you said?
Corn and peas. That's what they were known for back in the day.
I wonder if it's still functioning. When Timothy comes on, he'll tell us if it's still functioning.
Right.
If what's still functioning?
The salt pond, the whole salt industry.
And we still by foot. Pardon me?
We didn't hear
We
you
go
clearly.
from North Hill to South Hill. Pardon me?
Go ahead.
I didn't hear that.
No, you continue, Mommy. Go ahead.
I say when I went, you hardly had transportation. You hardly had cars. So most of the traveling was by foot.
Mm.
And the roads weren't well paved or anything. They had proper roads. And I can say everybody in Anguilla was related to me. Everywhere I went, they knew my name. I don't know why, they knew my name. And everybody looked after your cousin. I'm your cousin. So probably Timothy is our cousin too.
Oh, he would love that. All right. So maybe we can talk. One of the questions Dewey had asked, and I'm not sure if you had answered it. It was about your mom. It was about your mother, and what the stories we had heard from you about she being a hard worker, and whether you could tie that back into anything in Anguilla with Ma, your mother, our grandmother. Do you recall anything?
Can she hear you?
I'm not sure. We're having a problem with that. But okay, perhaps we can just speak about until Dr. Tim gets on the platform with us. Maybe you can just speak about your book and the chapter that spoke about Anguilla.
Yeah. Megan, do you want to read maybe a section of it?
I don't have the book with me. I am not at home where the book is.
Okay.
Yeah. If I had the book. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep talking. I will probably just read a passage from it.
Okay.
So, is the recipe.
I'm not hearing you clearly.
My favorite in the book is the recipe.
Which recipe?
I say my favorite is the recipe about all my products.
What?
She's talking about something else, not Anguilla.
Oh. Okay. Oh, Patricia Adams. Oh, you know what? Maybe we can we jump to some comments? Because
Yes.
I think this might be interesting.
Sure. Let's do that while we get this going.
Yeah, let's jump to our comments because I see something that is quite interesting. So of course, Inga is watching. This is our Aunt Inga. Hi, Aunt Inga. Bridget Henry says, I love you, Grandma Mirie. I'm not sure who Bridget Henry is. You know who that is, Mommy?
Yes, it's one of her students. I know who it is.
Oh, because she
one of her students from Liberta.
Dorit Whitlock, how are you?
I'm doing great. Mommy, do you remember Bridget Henry from Liberta School?
Oh dear, not hearing her.
No, I can't bring her to me.
Okay.
She would have to tell me her parents. Oh, wow.
So we have someone from Anguilla or who knows about Anguilla.
She's married Henry and up with Stevens.
Okay, if that's her, she'll let us know. So we have someone from Anguilla or knowing about Anguilla, and she
That's
says,
she's Bridget Stevens.
no. This is Patricia Adams. And she says, the salt industry is not operational anymore. Salt picking is now a tourist attraction for about 1 or 2 weeks of the year.
Oh, wow.
Then she goes on to say, we now have paved roads throughout the island, and there are thousands of cars, electricity, phones, Wi-Fi, cable TV, and that is true because I've been to
Oh,
Anguilla.
yeah, it's a luxury destination.
Top notch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feels like, I always say, Anguilla feels like Santa Barbara to me. There's a particular strip going down to like where the Cuisinart is. And
yes, I know where that is.
Every time I drive down there, it feels like Santa Barbara. It feels like a very upscale, rural kind of town.
Nice. Yeah, it's done well. Fanny King says, good afternoon all. Hi, Fanny. Denise Armstrong says, interesting information about Anguilla. Absolutely. And you're going to hear more once we get Timothy on. And Bridget is back. Bridget Henry says, I remember Grandma Mirie's mother very well. She was loving and called Ma by Claude and my cousin Katura's children. Bridget Batchelor is my name, married Henry. So do you know Bridget Batchelor, Mommy?
She's related to Uncle Claude's wife.
Aunt Ket.
Pardon me?
She's related to Aunt Ket. She is Bridget Batchelor. Okay, let that nominate in your mind.
I hear that.
Okay. We'll talk a little later about that. Don't want to hold up the conversation.
Okay, so do you want me to read like a paragraph or two?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I'm starting from the very first chapter, which, I helped to write. It's called Entrepreneurship, Unleash Your Dreams and Start Building Your Empire.
So tell them the name of the book.
Well, of course, if you have not yet heard, it is Mirie's Magic Recipe, Loving, Leading, Legacy. And it's a book that's based on my mom's life, not necessarily chronological, but it's based on what we did. We got 9 things that describe her that really stand out with her personality and her accomplishments. And the chapters are based on those 9 elements. So entrepreneurship, anyone who knows my mom, she's a hustler. She believes in, the definition of entrepreneurship is finding creative solutions and monetizing them. And that is my mother. She will find, she never starts out with the money part, but she will find creative solutions. She's an extremely creative person. And over time, sometimes several years of doing this and gifting people, she's found a way to carve out a market for a lot of her products. So the first chapter, which we think really was where the seeds of entrepreneurship were sown, was when she was born in Anguilla and was taking the journey across the Caribbean Sea or the Atlantic. I'm not even sure geographically which it is. I'm horrible with geography.
I think it would be the Atlantic.
Okay, so let me read about 2 paragraphs just so you get a sense if you have not yet read the book, and I'll go through it fairly quickly. Some of our earliest travel experiences can inspire, motivate, and push us to big dreams. Rumor had it that we were headed to the Second World War, and life in the Caribbean and the entire British Empire faced an aura of uncertainty and instability. Amid this crisis, the Fleming family was making plans to leave Anguilla and head to Antigua in search of a better life on a bigger island. An established sugar and cotton producing colony with many estates would provide better economic opportunities for our family. In relocating from Anguilla, his paternal home, to Antigua, his maternal home, Pa Fleming, which is my mom's dad, had dreams of a brighter future for his children. But this was not the first time that Pa was crossing the ocean in search of work. Just after World War I, he and his sisters traveled to the Dominican Republic to cut cane. Although he never shared details of his experience, he returned to Anguilla and his sisters remained, making the Dominican Republic their home. Many relatives and friends had also left for Panama in search of work, and others had gone to America, including one of his sisters who went to Africa. Now, Pa's younger brother, Uncle Philip, was doing well in Antigua and encouraged my father to move back to Antigua to find work. Born in Antigua, Pa was sent to live with relatives in Anguilla after the untimely death of his father. But life was tough. So, accompanied by his wife Gertrude, who he married in 1931, and his young family of 3 children, we set sail for Antigua in January of 1938. Claude, Lawrence, and I were extremely excited about taking our first ocean voyage. Ma, which is my mom's mother, she was pregnant, which I later found out, with my younger sister Inger, and so there was anticipation all around. I look forward to meeting my paternal grandmother in Antigua, and I was excited about the 116-mile journey from Anguilla to Antigua that would take about 5 days. At just under 4 years old, I have only vague memories of being in the belly of the boat and the exhilaration that I felt as we landed in Antigua. I remember the words, "Land ahead." I also remember seeing and feeling sunlight and getting out of the hold of the boat, where we had been confined for a few days. As we boarded a bus somewhere near High Street in St. John's, my heart was racing. I was intrigued by the prospect of a new island, a new school, new friends, and a new family. I had mixed feelings, but I also had big dreams about this new frontier that was expected to broaden my family horizons. I had heard many positive stories about Antigua from Pa, but I was still a bit ambivalent, not knowing what to expect. And of course, this is a 3.5-year-old child talking. So before we set sail, Ma was packing valuables like her wedding ring, good petticoats, and important papers. I snuck some seeds into the trunk, and I did not know what to expect because I did not know what to expect in Antigua. So I brought seeds with me to plant in my new backyard. January was the end of the pomseret season, and this was one of my favorite fruits. So I had started to put away the seeds in brown paper to take with me on my journey. Just in case they did not have these fruits in Antigua, I decided that I would plant my own tree when we got to my new home. My parents were quite amused when I asked them to pack my seeds with the rest of our belongings, and Pa remarked that those were called dums. They were called dum seeds. Whatever they were called, I was already dreaming of a backyard with my favorite fruit trees and a small plot of land where I could have my own ground. Now, trees, as you all know, are big. They provide a lot of shade and they give character to a backyard. The sight of ripe dums on the ground under a tree was one of my best memories of the Yard in Anguilla. I wanted to recreate that scene in Antigua and maintain a connection to our life in Anguilla. Maybe I could even sell dums, just like the women at the market. My family was going to Antigua to make more money, and I was determined to do my share to contribute.
Nice. Nice.
Should I read one more paragraph?
Okay.
My final paragraph I read. Once our family arrived in Antigua, my curiosity kicked into high gear, and a dreamer was born. Antigua was bigger and more developed than Anguilla, and I began to look forward to the brighter future that my parents had promised. I was nervous, but ready to accept the many unknowns. Dreaming fueled a sense of creativity within me. Like any artist, musician, author, or other creative person, I was ready to learn new things and adapt to our new environment. So, you'll never look at dumb seeds ever again.
The same way.
So, Dums, of course, everybody loves Dums, and my mother brought her own seeds from Anguilla to Antigua to plant. And so that becomes the symbolism throughout the book, where the seeds of entrepreneurship were actually brought from Anguilla to Antigua. Of course, the Dums tree never grew, but what sprouted from this action and this adventure that that Mirie went through, crossing the ocean, going to a new island, really, really awakened something in her, because the narrative that she heard from her parents was, we're going to Antigua for a better life, we're going to make money, we're going to have better economic opportunities. So she brought that dream and that drive with her, and the symbolism was those dumb seeds. So there you have a first glimpse into what the book is all about. And if you're in Antigua, you may want to stop by and get a bottle of Dums wine. I think Dums is still one of her favorite fruits, right, Mommy? I don't think she can hear me, but she has
there's a delay.
Dums are still one of your favorite fruits.
Well, while she's pausing, yes, I can tell you that it's one of mine, especially. I'm not ashamed to say, especially the fluffy.
Plant a tree, but it was getting so big I had to cut it down.
You had a Dums tree? I don't remember having a Dums tree.
Tree had prickles.
Where was this? Where was this Dums tree?
No, since I came over here, I planted one, but it's getting so big.
Oh, I don't remember Dums tree in our yard.
I planted it.
Since you left home? Okay.
Did it ever bear fruit?
But I had to cut it down because it was getting so. It's after you left, I did it.
Oh, okay. All righty. Do we have any questions? And we apologize to our guests for the late arrival of our guests, but he's actually traveling back from a long trip today, and he
is ready.
Okay, great. Ready. So let's get this party started. And thanks to everyone for your patience.
All right. So, hi, Dr. Tim. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you doing?
I am good. Good to see you.
Well, I'm just back on Anguilla, so that adds a lot to the day.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Great.
So everyone, this is my friend, Dr. Timothy Hodge. We've been friends, as I told the audience earlier. We've been friends for over 30 years. We went to University of the Virgin Islands together, and Dr. Timothy says I never told him I was from Anguilla, but I did. He just doesn't remember. Because I used to tell everybody that my mother is from Anguilla. But the beauty about Dr. Timothy Hodge, he has such a wealth of knowledge on Anguilla, on the history of Anguilla, the culture, and he is a finance man himself. So he can speak about entrepreneurship as well. So
fantastic.
He has a lot to share. So thank you so much for joining us. So you're here with my sister Javid and my mother Miriam. Miriam was born in Anguilla, and she left Anguilla when she was 3.5.
Yes. Well, I have read excerpts from the book which you sent to me, Megan, and I'm looking forward to reading its entirety. But let me just say good afternoon to our audience, first of all, and to you, the hosts, and to the special lady. I sent 90th birthday greetings to you. I hope that they were delivered.
Good afternoon.
They were delivered.
Yes, and I think that is what started this conversation because I'm not sure if Megan told you, but we were not just undergraduates together at UVI, University of the Virgin Islands, but since then, both of us have moved forward and upwards in our lives. And I completed a PhD at UVI, and I am now on Megan's PhD committee as she's completing her dissertation.
Oh, wow.
So we've come back full circle.
Full circle.
And because we were communicating, I saw her WhatsApp image, and it had this.
That's true.
90th something.
90
days
to 90 years.
Yes, and I said, "What's this about?" And you told me this is your mom's 90th birthday coming up and so forth. And my mom had just celebrated her 85th birthday.
Oh,
so
85th. Okay.
Yes, that was good. Great. So it's wonderful to be here and on this eve of Anguilla Day, and it's very nice that you have brought this together and you've invited me to be on the program because when your mom went to Antigua, and sorry I'm putting it that way, but that's the only way I can remember how to put it. when she went to Antigua, 3.5 years old, that would have been when? Back in the 1940s, right?
Yeah, 1938.
1938. Right, that's the year before my mother was born, and
Oh, wow.
and the World War was just about the Second World War was just about
to start.
Yes.
Yep.
Right, so that's a long time ago, and it was it would have been very tough times to live in, and tough on top of tough. I'm trying to figure out a way how to put it because life in Anguilla was hard in those days, and then you had the World War situation with all of the constraints that would have created and all the fear and everything else, and so that is the Anguilla that she left, and Anguilla was for centuries neglected, almost abandoned by the British Crown, and in fact it was not officially part of any colony until 1825. Before that, for 175 years, it existed basically on its own, without official sanction, giving allegiance to the British Crown. But the British Crown didn't really recognize it as either part of the Leeward Islands or part of the Virgin Islands. It was only in 1825 when Anguilla became part of the presidency of St. Kitts. And then about 50 years later, Nevis was added to the presidency of St. Kitts, and the name Anguilla was actually dropped.
Oh, wow.
Wow, even though you were still a part of it.
Yes, and not only that, a part before Nevis was a part. It just goes to show the lack of
respect.
Respect is one thing, but it just was insignificant to the British Crown. Why? Because it really produced nothing in terms of sugar cane or anything that was of value to the crown. It did produce, but not sufficient to be of value. And the British Crown, they tried several times to take the Anguillians off of the island. In fact, they call it, the history records several governors, one Governor Matthews, who was based in Antigua, saying that it's not fit for human habitation.
Wow.
And so when Anguilla was joined to St. Kitts in 1825, both the Kittitians and the Anguillians protested. So the Anguillians said, how could they care who have no interest here? They're distant. They can't even see Anguilla. What interest would they have, or could they possibly have in Anguilla and the welfare of the people of Anguilla? So the Anguillians protested, and the Kittitians protested because they said, well, this is just going to be drained on our treasury. And so
more expenses and less resources.
Right. So the Anguillians actually continued to protest from 1825 all the way up. There were petitions and so forth, which of course received no response. from the colonial authorities. And it was only, and then of course in 1960, just about when the West Indies Federation was attempted, was tried, well, came into existence. It actually did exist for a little while.
Mhm.
Um, Anguilla was at that time part of St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla, which was a part of the federation. And when the federation fell apart, then the British government looked for other means of governing these territories, and came up with this plan called statehood. Of course, you would know of statehood in Antigua
Yeah,
because Antigua and
yeah.
Barbuda went into statehood at the same time. So,
It's
so what happened was that you had Antigua, Barbuda, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, etc., and St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla. And the Anguillians said, and of course, the disrespect continued because essentially, Anguillians were told, you're going to be part of this state. And and the Anguillians said, well, at least now we can complain to Britain, but if we go into statehood, then we have nobody else to complain to. And so the Anguillians said, no, hell no, we're not going to go into statehood. Now this was an interesting time because this little island with 6,000 people on it, with no real economy, existing on people who had gone overseas and were sending home remittances, etc. And basically in Anguilla, just a sustenance economy, no real trade, no real economy to talk about other than producing salt for export, and little things like animals and peas and corn to St. Martin, the neighboring islands, right? So that's essentially what existed in Anguilla in those days, and the Anguillians mostly would have gone overseas, gone to gone to England, gone to the United States, to other Caribbean islands, the closer by countries, U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Martin, Aruba, and Curacao as well, to work in the oil industry. And now, thanks to genealogy and connections which are coming up, I'm learning that quite a few went to Antigua as well. But I wasn't really so aware. I know that Richie Richardson has family in Angola. I understand he's your cousin as well, Megan.
Mhm.
Uh, and I do know of a few other Anguillan connections, but there weren't many that I was aware of that went to Antigua. Of course, and also the St. Kitts and Nevis. So what happened is the Anguillians said, no, we're not going to be part of it. And, and Britain basically ignored, and St. Kitts, the government in St. Kitts ignored as well. And plans were put in place for Anguilla and St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla to go into statehood on the 27th of February, 1967. The Anguillians protested, and also asked for support among the other Caribbean territories. Got no help because Antigua couldn't support it, because then Barbuda would get would have a voice, and the St. Vincent wouldn't support it because then the Grenadines would have a voice, etc., etc. So the Anguillans decided, well, we are not going to go into statehood. No matter, come at me, we will not go into statehood. And so the events started with there was a statehood queen show. There was a queen show in Anguilla to select the Anguilla representative, and then there was one in St. Kitts and one in Nevis. So the three winners were going to compete for Miss Statehood. And when the Anguilla queen show was being held, the Anguillians broke it up with whatever, and then that resulted in police action, tear gas and bullets, etc. And then that's when all hell broke loose. And so from there on in, there was basically no statehood function was allowed to proceed. The statehood flag was never flown in Anguilla. The school children were not allowed to sing it. The parents told them no. If the teacher, and of course the teachers were being paid by the central government in St. Kitts, so they were, they were following actions. But the parents told the children, do not sing that song, which was actually Unity in Trinity, St. Kitts, Nevis,
Yeah, I
Anguilla.
saw that, and I saw the flag as well.
And there was a flag with three leaves and three roots.
Yes, yes.
And so Anguilla, threw a wrench into the whole thing. And then they continued. So there was still a presence in Anguilla. There was a warden, which was the representative of the central government. His house was burned down. A couple other houses, which is unfortunate, because these were historical buildings, etc. But they were seen as representing the government, so they got burned down. Nobody ever got injured or killed. In the Anguilla Revolution, it was a bloodless revolution.
Okay.
But the Anguillans, there were lots of shots being fired. They fired at the police station every night and that kind of thing. And then on the 30th of May, on the 29th of May, which is today, the day before the 30th of May, which is Anguilla Day, there was a meeting on the park. So this is what with the Anguillan leaders, political leaders, people who came to the fore, people like Ronald Webster, who is my mother's brother, Atlin Harrigan, who's a cousin, Walter Hodge, who's my father. He became the first, when the Anguilla broke away officially, broke away from the state. My father was named as the chairman of the peacekeeping committee, which was the first actual government on the island. So these people would have public meetings on the park. And, just to show you the kind of disrespect we had here, the park was named Burroughs Park. You ask anybody in Anguilla, there's no Burroughs in Anguilla. Ask them who's Burrough, who's the park named after. Nobody could tell you. So they tore down the sign. The park eventually became named the Ronald Webster Park. But this is where all the public meetings would take place, and everybody would go. Truckloads of people from all around the island would go there, and they would give their support to the people who were saying we're going to break away from St. Kitts. And on the 29th of May, they delivered a letter to the representative of the St. Kitts Nevis. Anguilla, by the way, at that time had one seat in the 10-seat House of Assembly. There were 2 in Nevis, 1 in Anguilla, and 7 in St. Kitts. So no matter what the Anguillans did or what they said, or the Nevisians and the Anguillans together, they were always outnumbered, and basically were able to accomplish nothing. My father, by the way, also was an early representative in that house, and basically was able to do nothing, because anything they proposed, they would say, well, yeah, we don't have the funds or something of the sort. Mm-hmm. Also, by the way, to show you the kind of stuff that happened, there was money sent to Anguilla. There were monies sent to Anguilla, sent to the central government to build a wharf in Anguilla, a jetty, a pier. Mm-hmm. And the pier was built in St. Kitts, in Sandy Point, St. Kitts, and called the Anguilla Pier.
Oh my God.
Yes. So, there's only so much you can take of that kind of thing. And so the Anguillians had enough. And on the 29th of May, which is today is the 57th anniversary of that day, at a public meeting, they decided that this was it. They sent a message to the local representative in the House of Assembly and told him to tell Bradshaw, who was the premier at the time, chief minister at the time. I think he became premier when in statehood. That take your police. At that time, Anguilla was the central government was basically represented only by police, because the warden had run for his life, and there weren't very many other public officers in Anguilla anyhow from the central government. And so they told him, tomorrow morning, we're going to ship all the police back to St. Kitts. So the Anguillians, the Kittitians, that night, got the policemen who were all from St. Kitts, got their guns and um, you know, try to protect themselves and play strong. And then the Anguillians went the next morning, early next morning, and demanded their guns, with guns, of course,
Oh, wow.
and demanded their guns and their weapons. Some of them tried to play, strong and bullies or whatever, but they were overpowered, and they put them on Anguillan vessels and Anguillan airplanes and shipped them back to St. Kitts. So, and yeah. By the way, at that time, Anguilla, I did say that we didn't have a trade or economy, but the Anguillians were the boat builders and the sailors and the merchant mariners of the Eastern Caribbean. So they were boats and also at that time airplanes when they were not really in any of the other territories really, but I mean locally owned, that is. So Anguillians were entrepreneurial, and I really appreciate that. Mr. Samuel here is an entrepreneur. She got that not doubtless from the Anguillan characteristic of hard work, of working together. I did have about 12 characteristics in my PhD study, which came up, and the characteristics of the Anguillan people are all very. Let me just read to you what I found. So they were resilience. All right, that spirit that says no matter what, we're going to survive, and better is going to come one of these days. Resilience, community, that is working together, bravery. All these were demonstrated in the revolution because you had 6,000 people taking on the central government with their arms, and the British government. The British actually invaded Anguilla afterwards. After 2 years of the Anguillians going it alone, actually had declared independence and was operating as an independent state for 2 years. Then the British invaded in 1969.
Oh,
I didn't know all this. Wow.
Oh yeah. We had
so they took away the independence.
Well, when they arrived, they came and they sent their elite forces, the Red Devils, the Green Beret Red Devils, the elite troops. They came to Anguilla because they expected that they would have to fight a war. But the Anguillans had been saying to Britain for 100 and plus years, we don't want to be ruled from St. Kitts. We don't mind being ruled from Britain. And so when they came, they did not meet a battle. There was no shots fired. And the Anguillans said, well, what took you so long? And then having come here and gotten egg all over their face because the world jumped down on them and said, well, how come you invaded Anguilla and you did not invade Rhodesia? Rhodesia had declared itself independent at the same time, of course, with different reasons. Rhodesia because they wanted their white apartheid government, and Anguilla because they wanted self-determination. You attacked the little black nation island, but you didn't have, And so having done that, they came in and they had to then, to take the shame out of their face, they had to then build schools and build roads and so forth. So Anguilla began to get infrastructure that we did not have before. And so it worked out great. And the revolution has transformed Anguilla from a backward economy, a backwater, to really prosperous. So let me just finish and I'm aware of time. Let me just finish the 12 characteristics. So there was community, and community, by the way, so community, bravery, inventiveness. Okay, so here is Mr. Samuel with entrepreneurship, loyalty, faith, curiosity. So curiosity, the last bit that was read a while ago, she talked about creativity. So creativity, the academics, the researchers in creativity studies say that all creativity begins with curiosity.
Yeah.
So the Anguilla Revolution came about because Anguillians said, no, there got to be something better than what we've got. And you could just look across the water. I just came across the waters from St. Martin, my last step, as you say, on the long trip back home. And St. Martin, you could stay in Anguilla and you could see electric lights in St. Martin, but they were not in Anguilla. All right. You could go to St. Martin every day and sell your sheep or your goats or whatever, and you could see progress. You could see jobs, etc. But there was none in Anguilla, and so curiosity was another of the characteristics. Thriftiness. They said the Anguillans could save 5/4 of a dollar.
What was the last thing you said?
Thriftiness.
Thriftiness. Okay.
Saving, yeah.
Pride. That sounds familiar.
Pride, industry, independence, and jollification. So I'm going to speak about jollification in a bit. Jollification. I'm going to speak about that, but let me just touch on independence first, because the first one I said was, but one of the first I said was community. So community is working together, and independence is working by yourself. So these are kind of opposites. But we found in Anguilla that there were lots of opposites, but not necessarily opposite, but somewhere in between. So Anguillans like to be self-sufficient and independent, but to achieve that, they would work together. So thus the word jollification.
How do you spell jollification?
JOLLIFICATION. Now I used to think it was an Anguillan word, but it's actually in the English dictionary. It's in the Miriam dictionary, and it basically says working together and celebrating together. But in the Alsop Dictionary of Caribbean English Usage, it is defined as and where a word is used specifically or peculiarly in one of the islands or one of the countries, it is said so. So the jollification is one of the few words that is an Anguillan word in the Alsop Dictionary of Caribbean English Usage, and it says the act of working together to plant a ground or launch a boat or build a house, lay a foundation or pour a roof or something like that, with no money was exchanged, but plenty rum and celebration. So they would have so this week I need to plant my ground. I can't do it by myself. I would call my neighbors and we would all go there. All the men would go there. The women would cook by the side, and when it's all finished, there'll be plenty of rum and dancing and singing, etc. And that brought the community together. Right?
Wow, I like that.
So it is in fact for me it is an encapsulation of all of the other 11 characteristics of the Anguillan people. That spirit of jollification, and so I really celebrate Mr. Samuel. By the way, we don't call them dumps in Anguilla. They are our favorites, of course. Everybody stops whenever they see a tree that has, we call them pomseret.
Pomseret, yeah.
Yes.
And we yes. I'm not sure about. I'm sure some people will make wines and so forth out of them.
Yeah.
But basically, we eat them, and we eat them wherever we see them.
Oh yeah.
Wherever we find, we're gonna pick a bag full and take home some for the kids or for the family.
We're not seeing you anymore, Tim. I'm not sure why.
You're not seeing me anymore.
Yeah, your camera is off.
For a bit.
There
you are.
Okay, good. Yeah.
There you are. And
so sorry about that. You see me now?
Yep.
Okay, good. So so that is what I would want to say, and that nowadays the economy, we've become a tourist economy because of course we always had beautiful beaches.
Yeah.
And we've our tourism plan model is based on exclusivity and high-end tourism as opposed to mass tourism. So compare with, say, St. Martin, which I just left a while ago, with lots of tourists arriving nonstop, lots of cruise ships and so forth. We don't have the big cruise ships, and we don't have the capacity to deal with mass tourism. But the good thing about it then is that our beaches are not crowded, and our streets are not blocked up with traffic jams, etc. And so it's Anguilla's come a long way since 1938.
Yeah,
Must say,
absolutely.
and the Anguilla Revolution, which we celebrate tomorrow. Tomorrow is Anguilla Day, and we celebrate the Anguilla Revolution on that day, and so that is really something which we want to, we're very proud of our bravery and our resilience,
Yeah.
and the entrepreneurship that has come through, that was produced in your mother, and I'm seeing it right here. My family just I'm still in the car, right? So my family is here, and they're also entrepreneurs, and so it's
Nice.
very much an Anguillan trait.
Okay, that's good.
Dr. Tim, before I
Yes.
had a question, what is the premiere related to Ronald Webster?
So the premier is the present premier is Webster. So he would be probably about maybe a second or third cousin.
Okay, so he's not his son. Okay.
No, not his son. No,
Okay.
but he is the revolutionary leader. Ronald Webster um, is my mother's brother. My mother is right now the only surviving sibling of Mr. Webster. That Webster. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that he lived to be a ripe old age. He died when he was in his 90s.
Yes, he died at 90, and in the next 2 years is going to be the centennial of his birth,
Wow.
1926.
Oh, okay.
So I've already been asked to prepare. So I've done some poetry, and I've started to write a play about him and so forth. So I'm
Oh,
going to
nice.
get those racked up.
Okay.
When
Awesome.
was the last time that Mr. Webster was chief minister or premier?
Okay, so he was he was the political leader. Came to the forefront in 1967, and he was sort of unchallenged as the leader until 1977, when there was a motion of no confidence in his government, and he was removed. Well, he did not. He was removed from being chief minister, and then in 1980 he was re-elected, and his party, and he became chief minister. And then what happened was that he would get elected. He would always have popular support, but his government, he always seemed to have issues with his ministers and so forth, and so his governments fell apart more than once. And then in 1984, he called elections when he didn't have to, and his party lost, and that was the last time that he was elected in the House. But he is recognized as the father of the nation.
Oh, yeah.
And held in very high regard.
Yeah.
Throughout Anguilla.
What a great story.
Nice.
Well, I really, really enjoyed hearing, having you fill in the parts that are not necessarily written in history. Let me see what other questions I had for you.
And you have to watch the
so
time.
How much time do we have? Because I
think we're pretty much over close to the end, because we've been on for a while.
No, I wasn't trying to run away. I was wondering. I have a poem which I'm actually going to present tonight. So if I have time, I would like
we'd
to
love to hear it.
It is about yeah. So
And to our guests, if you have to leave, we certainly appreciate you hanging in here with us. We've gone way over time, but of course, this is a special celebration on the eve of Anguilla Day. And, if you miss it, of course, it's going to be up on YouTube. So I know for some, it's time to go make dinner. You have obligations. We really want to thank you for spending your time with us. And if you have to leave, we certainly understand. But we probably will be wrapping up in another 5 minutes or so. So go ahead, Dr. Tim.
Okay, so the computer is inside this. Okay, so I'm getting my my laptop out of my travel bag.
Mm-hmm. A question I had for you that I kind of thought about. I guess the boat building, Anguillans seem to be so mobile. So I guess when you can build your own boat, you can travel anywhere, right?
Well, remember I talked about the opposites, right? And so what we found was that Anguilla is not a question of either or, but both and. So
Okay.
we're both a very dry island, but we also produce lots of very high quality peas and corn.
Yeah.
And we export it. And
Mommy
animals.
was just saying that.
My mom's talking about that, yeah.
Right. And so also Anguilla does not have timbers and high and safe anchorages. Like Antigua, for example, has some safe anchorages, English Harbor, etc. Anguilla doesn't have the timbers, but yet Anguillas became the boat builders of the Caribbean. So this was their resourcefulness. They would go and go up on the mountainside and say kids and pull down logs and go to Stacia and do the same. They would go to St. Martin and plant peas on the hillside, the mountainside in St. Martin, where the St. Martin people could not access them because they could only be accessed from the sea. But the Anguillans would go across there as if it was their backyard and plant crops on the people's island and go over there and reap them. Yeah. When I found out that in my PhD research, and it was just an incredible thing to see and to learn.
That is interesting.
Okay, so you're in a position to give the poem?
Okay, so I'm trying to locate it here right now. It's I can't really put it.
And as you get ready, Dr. Tim, my mother just announced today she's going to do an Anguilla tour.
Yes.
Well, I'm looking forward to. I'm really
Yeah.
looking forward to meeting her. Since I haven't met her.
Yeah, I need to be on that tour.
Me too.
I need to be on that tour.
Yeah.
and so I'm seeing here I'm just seeing the roundabout here with beautifully decorated in the Anguilla Day colors, which I'm seeing for the first time, and the boats, the Anguilla boats, which is our boat races.
Right.
Boat racing is our national sport.
Mm.
And so so go ahead and ask me something while I'm at it.
Oh, okay.
That's fine.
Okay, so Tim, so between those years when Anguilla, what is it? How was Anguilla referred to? So they didn't have statehood. They didn't have independence. How was Anguilla
I guess it was a colony.
Okay, so Anguilla was in a state of I guess uncertainty may be the word.
Mm.
So Anguilla was in a state of uncertainty for until 1980. So from 1967 until 1980,
Oh, that's a long time. 13
because
years.
remember, as far as Britain was concerned, this was an internal affair between St. Kitts Nevis and Anguilla, and
Yeah.
they could not act unilaterally. They were prevented from acting unilaterally by their own actions and positions, right? So in 1980, when Bradshaw's party lost power and the PAM movement came into power in St. Kitts, they
Mm-hmm.
said they would have no objections. They would not stand in the way of Anguilla's secession.
Mm.
Bradshaw felt like he took it personally, like the Anguillans were taking away part of his body, and so he never would allow it while he was alive or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So Anguilla, since then, the nomenclature has changed a bit. It was Crown Colony, and it now is a British Overseas Territory. It has the
Okay.
same status as Bermuda, as
Turks and Caicos.
Virgin Islands, Turks and Caicos.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
And Montserrat.
Montserrat, yes,
Right.
Yeah.
and a couple other territories.
Overseas
Has
territory.
sea on that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So,
Okay.
okay. So I have my poem. You
Okay,
see me?
great.
I'm looking away. I'm looking at the computer right now. Okay.
Yeah. No, we
So here
can't
it
see.
goes.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow is Anguilla Day.
But we can't see you, Tim.
You can't see me. Okay.
Your camera's off again.
Okay. Apparently.
There you are.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. There you are.
Okay. Good. So apparently I've got to. Okay. So here we go. Here we go. Tomorrow is Anguilla Day. An island serene, a people born to be free. Malohana, her people living in perfect liberty. Witaino paid homage to Jakahu, their deity. Subject to no one else, they lived with dignity. Then, without official sanction, European settlers came. Languille the eel, then Anguilla its name became. Part of no colony, producing neither fortune nor fame. As enslaved Africans tilled her hard soil, slavery's shame. From settlement in 1650 until 1825, ignored by the British Crown, they battled to stay alive. 'Tis not fit for human habitation, of Anguilla it was said, but despite plans to move them, on Anguilla they stayed. Through plunder by the French, through famine and hurricane, with failing crops of tobacco, cotton, peas, corn, and sugar cane. Then, in unholy union, to distant St. Kitts they were joined. Colonial high-handedness, we know best, you'll be just fine. From the very outset, the Anguillians loudly protested. Rule from St. Kitts, from anywhere, they detested. 175 years of neglect and isolation had developed and hardened their self-determination. But protests fell on very deaf ears, despite all their fears. Survival's battles continued through hardship, sweat, and tears. More drought and famine, wondering if anybody really cares. Anguilla, a colony of a colony, mocking jeers, blank stares. Though the humiliation, isolation, and neglect continued, the attempts to resettle them elsewhere were firmly resisted. As Anguillians clung to their island, their rock, defiantly, and continued to protest, how could they care who distant be? And now St. Kitts also had Nevis to manage from its treasury. When federation failed, statehood was planned for the colony. St. Kitts, Nevis, Anguilla, unity in Trinity, to be or not to be? Absolutely no, never, Anguillians shouted resoundingly. 1967 was the date given for the birth of the state. The statehood queen's show was disrupted, the tension was great. Tear gas and bullets, stillbirth statehood's coffin was carried high. The flag was not flown, the anthem never sung. Freedom or we die. We are out to build a new Anguilla, the revolution's new song. We have suffered and protested for much, much too long. Tomorrow we'll expel the police. Tomorrow is the 30th of May. Tomorrow, revolution. And you dawn. Tomorrow is Anguilla's day. Fellow Anguillians, we must never lose the spirit of 67. Let us celebrate our revolution with pride and passion, carrying on the pioneers' vision to build a new nation, Remembering our heroes, Ronald Webster, Ackland Harrigan, Walter Hodge, Wallace Ray, Bob Rogers, Collins Hodge, Jerry Gums, Mildred, Vanterpool, Doreen Duncan, Daisy Wong, Olive Hodge, Von O'Brien, and all the brave men and women who fought our revolution. Tomorrow is Anguilla Day. Let me hear you loudly and proudly say, hip hip hooray, hip hip hooray, hip hip hooray.
Awesome. Oh, very good. Love it. Love it, Tim.
That is fantastic.
Nice.
That is fantastic. We would love to share that.
Yes.
On our page.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Can you send it to me? Well, once you have,
Yes.
What is it?
Yes.
You performed it. Yeah. Whenever it's ready for publication, you can send it to me.
That is great. I learned. I mean, even when we thought about this theme, I did not expect to learn this much and to be this enlightened. So thank you so much. I would love to learn.
I'm proud to be Anguillian.
Of course. Yes. I never heard this whole story. I never heard the whole story, or at least in this context.
Yeah.
But let me refresh my memory, Dr. Tim. The 12 characteristics that you mentioned, was that for your thesis, or where is that published?
So in the thesis, so my dissertation was on creative leadership. I mean, the PhD is on creative leadership for innovation and change. So what I studied was a retrospective and prospective examination of the elements of creativity, of national creativity. Now, national creativity is not studied, has not been studied. So you study a person, or you study a group, a team, or you can compare, say, Apple and IBM. But to say a nation is more creative or less creative, that has not really been studied, I guess, because it's difficult to do. So I proposed to study Anguilla because Anguilla is it's small, it's a small population, and I proposed to study it, and I was allowed to study it and to use the dimensions of one of the real persons who wrote the literature on this. I mean, I spoke with him directly, and he says, well, it's not really been done, but yeah, go ahead, let's see what happens. And so I studied, there were 9 themes, things like leadership, risk-taking, and fun, having fun, and idea sharing, idea creation, and idea receiving. Because I may have a great idea, but if you don't want to listen to me, then it doesn't go anywhere. And those were some of the themes. And so, in studying the themes with my participants, my research participants, there were 12, and I had 4 who had experienced the revolution as adults, as 18 years and over. 4 who were in between, like my age, who would have experienced it, but who would have been young children under 18 during the revolution. And then the last group were those who were born after the revolution. And so what we did is we used the Anguilla Revolution, which I just spoke of, as evidence of creativity. Because if creativity is not accepting the status quo, then for the Anguillians to not accept their political position, which was being forced on them, then that was extreme creativity, a creativity on steroids.
For sure.
And so what were the characteristics of the Anguillan people that made them creative, right? And so forth. So those are what I studied, and I came up with those from my research, from my discussions with the 12 participants. I came up with those 12 characteristics. And the interesting thing was that in PhD studies, as Megan would very well know, and she better know because I'm on a committee. You can't just come up with something. You've got to be able to support it by the literature, and you've got to be able to or by some way of supporting the finding. And so what I did is I had focus groups. I had 2 focus groups, one with 3 of the older group and 2 of the middle group, and then one with 3 of the younger group and 2 of the middle group. And so,
you know what, Dr. Tim?
Yes?
I would love to continue this conversation with you in more depth, because where you're going is exactly the way Mommy's book is written. I don't know if you were on when we were talking earlier. We came up with 9 things to really describe her, and the chapters are based on those 9 things.
Yeah.
And there's such overlap. You just have 12, but I'm sure this, if we went through this is just.
Yes.
As he was mentioning the 12, I thought, oh my goodness, I saw the overlaps.
Some of the things.
And so what I found, just to wrap that thought up, what I found was that both groups supported these. There was no difference in the thinking of the young and the old, in other words. And
the culture.
The difference, the thing now that is of relevance to my dissertation is what of the future? Because yes, we were creative in the past. Yes, we had a successful revolution. Yes, we've transformed Anguilla. What do we do now? How do we take this creativity into the future? Because a rolling stone, a stone that doesn't roll, gathers mass, right? Doesn't produce anything. So you've got to continue to be a creative people. And so what are the characteristics that we need to take forward? And what are the things that we need to do? And also what are the things that we need to stop doing? Because like I just mentioned, the one about let's suppose a school teacher goes into the classroom, and I know that Mr. Samuel was a school teacher for many years. She goes into the classroom and she asks a question, and the students start to give answers, and then she just shuts them up and says, well, then the next time around they will not want to offer anything because they have already been
silenced,
shut down. So idea creation and the receptivity to new ideas, the curiosity, the exercise of curiosity and the encouragement of curiosity, and all these things we need to make sure that they exist in our community. And I was what I was able to read from the book, I too was amazed because I saw the terms in there.
We're onto something. We gotta
talk. We gotta talk.
But this book tour is going to be the coming together. So we gotta talk and start pulling, fusing the ideas and coming together.
I'm really looking forward to meeting this great lady. Yes.
Yep. All righty. Well, listen, we know you have to run to your function. Thank you so much. Thank you for the visit for our viewers. I see some of them are still on.
Yeah.
This has been a really, really enlightening discussion. And when Mommy gets to Anguilla, we have to do a live. We definitely have to do something live from Anguilla with her there, with you there. Actually, I guess living the book. We haven't read the book. We're going to live the book. And actually, see where this all came together. But this has been very profound.
And I understand that she came from North Hill.
Yes.
Also, my daughter is driving here, and she just turned into North Hill Village. So,
wow.
Okay.
We're gonna find out exactly who these ancestors were.
Yeah.
That is right down my path as well.
I know.
That is fantastic. I look forward to that. Maybe that's book number 2.
Maybe.
Tim and Miriam. Yeah.
All right, this is great.
Let's wrap it up.
So
but we will continue off air at a time, to really pull this together for a very fruitful discussion, which I think Anguillians and Antiguans will enjoy.
Oh, yes.
And we're going to make it happen. So to all of our listeners and viewers, once again, thank you for hanging in here with us. This has been a worthwhile discussion. If you missed parts of it, it's on YouTube. Be sure to like and share, and to be continued. And Dr. Tim, happy Anguilla Day to you, your family, and to all of the residents and our family members.
And our family, yes.
Yeah, in Anguilla. I've never been prouder to be Anguilla.
Yes,
Anguillian.
Anguillian.
So just hold on a little bit, and I'm going to show you the. I'm going to put you on. Where North Hill Village is a beautiful item.
And you have a hello from Marion O'Reilly Byron. Tim.
Oh, Marion, of course, Marion.
Oh, you guys all went to school together, right?
Yeah,
that's great.
Yes.
So here is the.
Okay, nice. Oh, that's what Aunt Connie sent us. We saw that on the video.
Yes.
Somebody sent us that yesterday. Very nice.
Our aunt sent that. Yeah. Oh, nice.
Very nice.
Oh, you guys have some lovely roads, man.
Yeah, the road. Yeah.
Wow.
God bless the British. Wow.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for that, Tim.
Huh?
Thank you so much for that.
Okay. All right, then. Well.
All right, folks.
Okay. Take care, everyone. And we'll see you guys
everyone.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.